Welcome to episode 72 of the Epilogue Lady. My name is Bente and I'm coming to you from Vesterålen, northern Norway, where I live with my husband and 3 cats. You can find me on Instagram as Arctic Crafts, on Facebook and Etsy as Arctic Crafts by Bente, and on Ravelry as Arctic Crafts 65. There is also a group on Ravelry, and you can find that under the Groups tab, and the Ravelry group is still called Arctic Crafts because this channel is still called Arctic Crafts, even though I've split it up into 2 different playlists. That word escaped me for a moment. There's also a Ko-fi page if you want to support me and the podcast, and everything is linked down below. And that's it for my normal intro. I know that by heart by now, and if I had to change anything, I don't think I would do it the right way. It's overcast today. I was hoping we had a really beautiful day. We had some beautiful days a few days ago with sunshine, and I was hoping that it would be like that today, because then I wouldn't need this light probably, but today it's overcast, windy, and it's raining. So it's perfect knitting weather. So I might sit down with my knitting afterwards and knit a bit while I'm editing this. Life stuff. I have a sick kitty. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you know that Severus Snape isn't feeling too good. He had surgery 2 days ago, and he's still feeling a bit under the weather, and I'm trying to get him to eat and drink, and I have to give him antibiotics, and that's not the easiest because I tried to give them to him directly, just using my finger and put them in his mouth. That's not easy. So I try to crush them and put them in food, but he hasn't got a lot of an appetite, so he just eat everything, so I'm not sure he gets enough antibiotics. So I'm calling the vet tomorrow just to ease my concerns, because I'm sort of fussy when it comes to sick kitties and sick children for that matter. But since both my boys are adults, I have to fuss over the kitties. And then we'll talk a little bit about knitting, because this is a knitting podcast after all, or a fiber-related podcast. I'm wearing my second stripe. I knit 2 stripes. This is by Andrea Mowry. And this one is knit with only 3 colors, and the colors are, 2 of them are Garn Boutique and Fortuna, those 2. And this is my Harvest Moon. Garn Boutique and Fortuna is a Norwegian dyer / yarn store in the part of the country where I'm from originally, and those 2 were gifts from a good friend of mine, Trina, and I realized that my Harvest Moon would go perfectly with them. So this is a tiny bit outside my wheelhouse when it comes to colors, but so I love the sweater anyway, because I love the fit of this sweater. So I probably haven't knit my last stripes, and I think my next one will be a scrappy one, maybe with stripes different widths. I'll knit until I run out of yarn, and then I start the next color. I'm not sure, but I have loads of sweaters on the needles and in my queue, so I won't be knitting another stripes for a while. My finished objects, I only have 2 finished objects. Only have 2. For me that's not a lot, but I have 2 finished objects. One of them you have seen as a whip, and it's the Collective Shawl by Locatelli. And I got inspired to knit this by the Knitted Bean. Recommend that podcast, by the way. And the main color is my cookie dough on it's a sport weight. No, it's not a sport weight. It's my old 100% merino base. I don't have this base in the shop anymore, so the skeins that are left of it I use myself for various projects, and I used cookie dough for this. And the contrasting colors are a 6 skein mini set from Hullmøsterkjole. The colorway is Bridget Jones, and they call their mini sets for birdies. You can find them online, I'm sure. Just Google Hullmøsterkjole birdies. Lots of gorgeous colorways. I only used 5 of the colors in this because the lightest color was too similar to my main color, so it wouldn't have shown up. This is a really fun knit with a really fun construction, and I love that you switch out the colors halfway through for the brioche, so it sort of mirrors, and I like the effect. So I might knit another one of these. It's just the right amount of brioche, because I love knitting brioche, but it takes a bit of time, so this is the perfect amount of brioche for me. So now I can start using it because I've shown it to you. My other FO I started last weekend while I was doing my trunk show, and maybe I should talk a bit about that trunk show, but I'll show you the finished object first. It's a dress. This is not for me, it's I knit this as a sample for Gry at the local yarn store, and this is knit in yarn from Sandnes called Tynn Line, and it's, let's see, it's 53% cotton, 33% viscose and 14% linen. And it's a really fine yarn, but I enjoyed this knit. A lot of stockinette though, but I think it's really cute, and I don't think this pattern is available in English. It's a Sandnes pattern, and it's called Hullmøsterkjole. That just translates as lace dress. And this is a size 6. I knit it exactly like the pattern says. I think it looks a bit short for a 6-year-old, but then again it's probably supposed to be a short dress. And that's my 2 FOs. And the trunk show was, I really enjoyed myself. I wasn't that busy, but that just meant I got to know Gry better. We could sit down and do some knitting, and when I got a customer, I just jumped up and went to assist them, and when she got a customer, she jumped up and assisted them. I could help her out a bit when she got busy, because I have no problems helping out in a yarn store, because I know a lot about yarn, I know a lot about knitting, and I helped the neighbor out in her yarn store while she was running the local yarn store. So, and it's sort of the dream job if you're really interested in yarn and knitting, working at a yarn store. So I enjoyed myself, and I sold more yarn than I would have online, so it didn't hurt too much to close the Etsy shop. So I enjoyed myself, and we already agreed I'm going to come back. I'm knitting another sample for her, and I bought some yarn for one of my make-alongs, but we'll talk about that when I get to the show and tell section at the end of the podcast. And I suddenly remembered something I'm going to talk about straight away, and that's my giveaway from my last episode. I wanted to know in the comment section, I just wanted to know who you wanted to give it to, because I knit, if you didn't watch my last episode, I knit a flax and a barley hat, toddler size, and I just knitted to use up some yarn, and I just wanted to give it away. And the winner is Laura Armstrong, and if you can see her comment here. And Laura, just send me your full name and mailing address either on Instagram as a DM. You could also use my email. I'll put that on the screen. I could also put that in the show notes, of course, but I'll put it at the screen as well. So please contact me and I'll get that off in the mail for you. And I was supposed to say that at the start of the episode. I have my show notes beside me, and even though I have that, I forgot to mention it. So then we'll talk about my whips. And one of those whips is also a sample knit that I'm doing for the local yarn store. I'm knitting this as a sample, and this is also a pattern that isn't available in English. It's a hoodie and it's knit in a yarn I actually can't afford. So this is a win-win. She gets a sample and I get to knit with a somewhat expensive yarn. And the yarn is this. It's the Store Alpaca Fairy Tale, and it's 100% brushed alpaca. So it has loads of a halo. It's sort of thick and thin, and she picked the color. You probably realize because I'm not a blue person, but I really love this color blue. And I cast this on couple of days ago, and it's not going too quickly, both because I don't have a deadline for this, but also because I'm knitting a sweater for myself that I really enjoy working on. I'll show you that afterwards. But this is how far I've gotten. It looks big to me, but I measured my gauge more than once, and it's the right, I have the right gauge. So I'm knitting a large, by the way. I'm using my Lykke interchangeable needles for this, because I find that when you're knitting with fluffy yarn like this, I prefer wooden needles. That's one of the few times I actually prefer wooden needles. I bought this Lykke set because I started using Suri alpaca for some projects, and I realized I needed some wooden needles, and why not just buy the interchangeable set. So this is the Carin hoodie, and I think the Store Alpaca is a part of House of Yarns. I'll link everything below, both so that my Norwegian subscribers can get the yarn if they want to, and for you international viewers, of course, if you want to click the link, go ahead. So that's and then I have one more active whip. I have put aside the Fair Isle sweater for my son, because I wanted to knit on these two sweaters for a while. I forgot to show you the bag. This is the bag my good friend Sue in Canada made for me. It's custom made for me in 2 different Halloween fabrics. I use it because even though it's March, I use it anyway. And I'm going to give you some Halloween related announcements later. Her shop is on holiday at the moment, but hopefully she'll reopen again. Her shop is the Tangled Skein CA, by the way. And my other whip is in this bag. that she gifted me. I love owls, anything with owls on. She gifted me this. She didn't make this, but she gave it to me as a present. And in here I have an Andrea Mowry sweater, another Andrea Mowry sweater. I love her patterns, and I'm hoping to finish this in time to be part of her March to May knit along. This year it's sweaters and shawls. And I'm knitting a sweater of hers that I wanted to knit since I saw it the first time years ago. And it's the wool and honey. And you have to forgive the cat hairs and the cat fluff, because Snape is really, really needy these days, and I don't blame him. This is a knit in Drops Nord, and that you can get online. And this is a blend of 45% alpaca, 30% polyamide, and 25% wool. So you could theoretically use this for socks, but I find that yarn with alpaca in it turns loose really quickly. It really gets floppy. That's not the word, but you know what I mean. It stretches a lot, and there's alpaca in it. And I'm feeling a bit anxious about this because of the alpaca content, and because this sweater isn't supposed to be fitted, so I'm not knitting it fitted, and I'm a bit worried, but hopefully it's going to hold up. So I'm now on the body, and on this sweater we really could call this body island, because it's every other row is a purl row, and I'm not that keen on purling. I actually considered starting to knit back and forth under the sleeves and then seam it at the end, but I don't think the seam will be invisible enough. Even though you can see in the back, you can see where you switch between knitting and purling. Let's see if I can find it for you. You can tell it doesn't show that much because I can't find it at the moment, but you can tell there's a line center back where you switch between knitting and purling. So you actually, I wasn't aware, but you actually get jogging even if you knit one color, if you're switching between knitting and purling. So now I know that. So I could of course split it there and knit back and forth and try to use mattress stitching and try to get it to be as invisible as possible, because if I could knit that garter stitch, I know it would be finished much sooner. But I prefer to do it like this, and just, I'm probably going to cast on something new before I finish that sweater, just because I don't know. And the other Andrea Mowry sweater I was going to cast on is the birch. Problem with that, I realized that's also every other way. Every other row is a purl row. Round. So I'm not sure. That will probably also be a slog, because I have this beautiful variegated yarn from Rosehill Yarns in Canada, and it's not easy finding a sweater for variegated yarns, because it has to be something simple with not a lot of patterning, because the pattern doesn't show that well in a variegated yarn, and the birch is a fisherman's rib, so I think that would look good in that yarn. But then again, I might find something else that also would look good with that yarn, but the yarn isn't going anywhere. And I wanted to cast on another sweater by Andrea Mowry and maybe get 2 sweaters done within the time limit for the March to May, because it's end of May. I know that sweater will be finished before the end of May. And I could knit a shawl, of course, but I have lots and lots of shawls. I have and then I have something else to talk about before I go with the show and tell. I have make-along starting April 1st, and it's the tea time make-along. The hashtag is tea time mal, and I think I'm going to call it the tea time mal 2022. That's the hashtag, because I'm going to do this next year as well. So this will be a yearly thing. So tea time mal 2022 is the hashtag for Instagram, and TEE time, but again it will be at the bottom of the screen. And sorry, I'm looking over there all the time because my show notes are here and I don't want to forget anything. So that's starting April 1st, and as usual whips are allowed, so if you want to cast on now, go ahead, but you have to have at least 50% left on your project to be able to enter. I can't check that, of course, so I'll just take your word for it and assume that you're honest. When I say tea, I mean any pattern for a short-sleeved sweater, but also patterns that are written for long sleeves, but you knit it short-sleeved. If you, for example, wanted to knit a ranunculus and don't do sleeves on it because you want it short-sleeved, go ahead. That's of course also a short-sleeved sweater. It doesn't have to be a t-shirt pattern. So any short-sleeved sweater in any fiber, and if you knit it in my yarn, you get a double entry. And you don't have to be entirely in my yarn. If you knit a t-shirt with the way you use my yarn as a contrast color, that's plenty. So then you can enter it twice. And I'm going to do a sneak peek of my show and tell section, because I wanted to show you this while I'm talking about the tea time make along, because I'm going to join you for the tea time make along. I'm knitting the everyday tea again. I've knit it once before, but with long sleeves. I'll put up a picture. I knit that in my merino bamboo blend in the colorway Nebula. This time I'm knitting it in a summer fiber, and I'm knitting it in this. It's Sandnes line. Remember that it was thin line for the dress, and this is line. And it's blend. It's 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. And I'm not normally this is sort of a really pale. It's a green. It doesn't show up as that much, but color is pretty accurate on the screen. So this is Line from Sandnes, and I bought this last weekend at the local yarn store. I've been looking online for linen yarn, but I decided why not support the local yarn store, as I was going to spend an entire weekend there. I had loads of time to browse. And this is a really soft yarn. It's 110 meters for 50 grams, so that's 220 for 100 grams. So this is a DK weight. The pattern is for a fingering weight, but the gauge is no problem getting that gauge with the DK. So I'm using this. Hopefully it won't be too warm because of the fiber content. So that's my project for the tea time make along. So I'm going to wait until April 1st casting that on, maybe longer, but hopefully I will be finished until the end of May, before the end of May. I forgot to tell you that a minute ago. It lasts until the May 31st. And the reason why it stops May 31st is that the Arctic Summer of Socks starts June 1st. And we'll talk more about the Arctic Summer of Socks in May, when it's getting closer. But it's the same as last year. The entire, for 3 months, June, July, August, knit socks. All the socks. and there will be prizes, of course, and I sort of know what I'm going to do for prizes for the tea time make along. I'm not sure yet, so I'm not going to say anything about it, but there will be 2 prizes for the tea time make along. Instead of doing lots of prizes, I'm doing 2 prizes on Ravelry, and there might be an Instagram prize as well. That might be a pattern prize, I think. But we'll talk more about that later, because I have one more thing to tell you that's also happening April 1st, and that is my Halloween Advent is going up in my Etsy shop April 1st. And the reason why I'm doing it this early is that because I haven't made a lot of money so far this year, I can't risk buying lots of minis that I won't need. So I'm putting up the Halloween Advent April 1st, so I can, and it's going to be in my shop for a month, so I can order the yarn, all the yarn I need, but not anything more than the yarn I need. So that's why I'm doing it like this. It's called the 13 Days of Halloween, and I'm doing only 13, both because I'm doing Advent for Christmas, 12 days of Christmas, and to keep the prices down so more people can afford it. I'm going to number them 1 through 13. And if you start, you can if you open them every other day, if you open everything when you get it, if you open the last 13 days of October and end up Halloween, that's entirely up to you. So you don't have to wait until there's only 13 days left to Halloween to start open. But you open this whenever you want to. But it's 13 days of Halloween, and there will be sort of Halloweeny colors, I guess, and there will be 13 20-gram minis in the Halloween Advents, and there might be some extras. I haven't decided yet, but it's going up April 1st in my shop. So that's what's happening April 1st. Make along Halloween Advent. And that's what I had for whips, FOs, shop news. So I only have show and tell left. And again, I think I'm always thinking this is going to be a short episode. This might actually be a short episode. It's been a stressful week, and I haven't done a lot of dyeing, but I have done some dyeing. I dyed up some colorways, especially for the trunk show, and I'm putting everything that didn't sell in the shop on Sunday, and then I dyed some self-striping this week, and that's what I'm adding to the shop on Sunday, so it's not going to be a big update. I need this coffee. So sorry if you don't find it interesting watching me drinking coffee. So, first we'll look at acquisitions, because I actually have some yarny acquisitions this time. The first I'm going to show you is yarn for a sweater that's going to go on my needles. I'm not sure I'm going to start it soon, because this is typically a winter sweater and it doesn't look like it today, but spring is in the air even here. It's another sweater that I'm going to knit in Tweed Delight from Hobby. And this yarn is 80% wool, 10% acrylic and 5% viscose. And I really love this yarn. I knit Felix cardigan, and I've knit the V-neck number 14 in this yarn. This is going to be a Carbeth sweater. And because it's a worsted weight, and I think it's going to, and the Carbeth is sort of cropped, So I think is going to be a quick knit. I just have to remember this time that this is not a superwash, so I have to be careful when I'm blocking it, because the last sweater I knit with this felted. Not enough to make it too small for me, but it felted when I blocked it, so I have to be careful. And I ordered some more yarn from Hobby, and I ordered 2 cakes of their twister. This is 55% cotton, 35% 45, of course. 55 isn't 100%, so 45% acrylic. And it's these gradient cakes. And both of these are going to be t-shirts. I knit a t-shirt in this yarn called the Sugar Maple by Carin Spencer, and that is far too big for me now, and I really loved that t-shirt. I wore it a lot. It was perfect for northern Norway summer, and I'm going to use this for that. That's actually, I think, my next cast on, because I really loved knitting that t-shirt. It was a really fun knit. I knit the original one. It sort of looked striped. I think this will be more of an ombre effect. We'll find out. I'm not sure what t-shirt to knit with this. I might actually do another, what's it called? The V-back tee. Or I'm going to look for patterns. I might do an everyday tee with this, of course. I'll see. But this is going to be a Sugar Maple by Carin Spencer. And that's a really fun pattern to knit. So that will be my next cast on, I think. If I have the time, that might also be for the tea time make along. And I have 2 hand-dyed purchases. I was craving some colors, and then I realized, why not look for Scandinavian hand dyers on Etsy, try out some Swedish hand dyers, for example. So I bought yarn from 2 different Swedish hand dyers, because you get it much faster. It took, I think, a week, 1.5 weeks to get it from Sweden, and it's not that expensive to order yarn from Sweden. I still have to pay VAT and everything, but it's not that expensive. And this is from a dyer called Asfaltsflickan Designs, and it means the asphalt girl. Or maybe you Americans, you call it tarmac. I'm not sure. The colorway is Ice Climber, and it doesn't look like much in the skein, but trust me, this was absolutely gorgeous, because some of the stripes are tonal. So I have to finish a couple of pairs of socks, and then I'm going to cast on this one. And because of the colors, I might knit them for hubby, but I really want them for myself. But the fun in this is knitting the stripy yarn and watching it knit another stripe. I'm going to knit another stripe, and I have 1 pair of self-striping socks on the needles as it is, and that's my own Glamrock. And I have 1 sock finished, so it's sort of, I don't need the sample. I only need the sample. I don't need the pair. But I'm going to have this on the lying in my face in the living room, so I can see it all the time. Maybe even make it into a jawbreaker ball, a gobstopper ball. So I really can tell that I really want to cast those on. So that's Ice Climber by Asfaltsflickan Designs. I could buy this yarn on Etsy because hubby gave me a gift card on Etsy to cheer me up, and I wanted to use it for a Scandinavian dyers because I thought I get more bang for my bucks if I buy it from a Scandinavian country. So I bought that one, and I bought a 50-gram skein from a dyer and designer called VickeVira, and she has loads of beautiful designs on Ravelry, so I'll link her Ravelry page below as well. And her patterns are in English. I seem to remember that they are in English. But I really love this. Is really colorful. It doesn't show. It's sort of neon-y, but I'm not sure what to knit with this. But there's a couple of. She has a couple of patterns for a combination of this and a neutral. So this is also becoming a pair of socks, or maybe a hat. We'll see. But this is going in my stash, and I'm going to find the perfect project for it. So that's the yarn I bought. Those are my acquisitions. This time I don't have anything on the way, I think. I suddenly remembered I've forgotten one acquisition. Let me just go get it. I was really excited to get this, so I'm not sure why I forgot to get it, to show it to you. But it's this bag. It's Jack Skellington and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. And the colors are really gorgeous. And this is, I almost said of course, from my good friend Michelle of Jibberoosoo's. Maybe I should hold it up so you can read it properly. Jibberoosoo's. I have collaborated with her several times for kits. And when I saw this in her update, I just had to have it. So this is big enough for a 1 skein shawl and a pair of socks. I can actually fit 2 sock projects in this. So that's what I'm going to do with this as soon as now that I've shown it to you. I have 2 sock projects on the needles. I'm going to put both of them in this. Or maybe I should cast on this and put it in here because the colors match. So that's also an acquisition. Now I haven't got any more acquisitions to show you. So we're going to go through the shameless self-promotion, what's going into the shop, what little is going into the shop on Sunday, because it's not a lot. So here we go. This is my new colorway Lichen. These have got tags on them because I took them to the trunk show, and it's on my XR Merino DK, and this skein is 150 grams for 367 meters. So this yarn, this size skein is perfect for sweater project because 2 skeins of this equals 300 gram skeins. And it's also enough for a pair of men's socks, 150 grams. I also have dyed up some Harvest Moon on Polldale. That's the same colorway that I've used in this sweater. So I've dyed up some Harvest Moon on Polldale. And I've dyed up an oldie, but goodie, Raspberry Sorbet on Zebra Sock, and I just had to dye up some pink. I love pink, that's not a secret, and I had to dye up some pink. So that's my Raspberry Sorbet on Zebra Sock. I've dyed up some Møysal on Polldale sock. I had to bring Møysal to the trunk show, of course, because that's the local colorway. I can see the mountain Møysal from my kitchen window. I can actually look out my window now and I can see. I can't see Møysal because it's overcast and it's covered in clouds. Sorry, I can't see it. But normally I can see Maison from my window. This is inspired by the mountain. It has white patches for the snow that never leaves the top of the mountain, and all the colors are representing the flowers at the base of the mountain, foot of the mountain. I don't have words today, but that's Maison on Polldale. That's a beautiful neutral, by the way, for a sweater or something. And I dyed up Aurora Borealis. Aurora Borealis. And these are sock sets. 100 grams plus a 20 gram. And neon green, forget about it. This is neon green. It's Northern Lights green. It doesn't show up as neon on the screen, unfortunately. The camera can't. My camera doesn't like neon green. So this is Aurora Borealis on merino sock. And these are 100 grams plus a 20 gram skein. So that's sock sets. And I have a mini set going into the shop on Sunday. It's this really nice pastel-y mini set that I'm calling Spring Symphony. And those two look pretty, I can tell, because again this is that green color that my camera doesn't like. But it's pastel-y light green, and this is yellow. You can tell the difference. You can tell the difference better if I hold it back here. But that's Spring Symphony. It's a pastel mini set. You can knit some cute socks with this. You can use it for color work. So that's the mini set, Spring Symphony. And then I came up with 2 more self-striping colorways. As usual, these are inspired by colorways I already have in my shop. This is Crocus. It's yellow and 2 yellow, violet and purple. The most common colors of Crocus. Normally this is variegated, but I decided to make it a self-striping, and this yellow is a bit brighter than it shows up on camera. But this is Crocus. And then I dyed up a sort of a gradient self-striping. And this is black currant ice cream. Let's see if we can focus on this. You can tell the colors even though it isn't exactly focused. This is also a colorway that I have in my shop. It's an ombre colorway. It's a dip dyed colorway. And this is called black currant ice cream. I really love this one. So if they don't sell, I might snatch one for myself. So that's what's going into the shop. Let's don't fall on the floor. That's what's going into the shop on Sunday. So I didn't do a lot of dyeing. Still struggling getting my mojo back when it comes to dyeing yarn, because I have a full inventory. I have a limited storage space, and if I'm not selling yarn, I don't feel like dyeing yarn. So it's kind of, it's one of those things, I guess. And next week I might not dye a lot of yarn next week, because Hobbies High School is part of a collaboration with schools in different countries all over Europe. And there's a teacher coming to visit that's going to be with him throughout his workday, and she's going to stay with us. She's from Latvia, and that means we're going to have a house guest next week, and the smell of wet sheep in the bathroom might not be for everybody. And again, the bathroom. If she wants to take a shower and there's a rack of yarn drying in the shower, what you're supposed to do. So I have to clear out the guest room as well, because that's my storage space for the business. So I have to rearrange everything. So I might not do a lot of dyeing next week. Unless she's really interested and wants to be part of it and wants to look at me doing it or something, then I will dye on next week. So we'll see. But that's one of the reasons why I have 2 weeks between updates. If I have a busy week, busy with life stuff, I don't have to feel guilty if I'm not dyeing any yarn. I have a lot of knitting to catch up on. I could do some admin for the shop. So that's basically what next week is looking like. But I of course have to do some housework this weekend, because neither me nor hubby are, I think the word is house proud. So the kitchen normally looks kind of okay, because I have to have a tidy kitchen to be able to dye yarn. But the rest of the living room doesn't normally look all that good. I have needles, knitting needles, interchangeable sets all over the place. I have project bags all over the place. So I have to organize my knitting sort of in a better way before she gets here on Monday. So that's what I'm going to spend my weekend doing, probably. Today I'm going to keep Snape company on the couch, make sure he gets something to eat, make sure he drinks, because he doesn't like moving about in that straitjacket. I keep calling it a straitjacket. I don't know the English word for it. I don't know the Norwegian word for it. I'll put up a picture to show you what it looks like when he's wearing it. Maybe you can tell me what it's called in English. So that's the plan for today. I'm still going to be a nurse today. And that was my epilogue for today. I'm so glad I decided to call this podcast The Epilogue Lady, because then I don't feel as bad writing on at the end. But I think I'm done with everything. I mentioned the Megalon, Tea Time Mal, I mentioned the Halloween Advent going up, both of those April 1st. Laura Armstrong, contact me so you can get your flax and barley toddler set. So I'd send that in the mail for you. And that was it. And I haven't got anything else to say, except I hope you have a really nice weekend. And I'll see you in the next episode of Bente's Bag of Holding, if there is one. If there isn't, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.